Welcome, Lisa, to Ask Elaine the Brain. You were my very first guest. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here, Elaine, and I can't wait to get and pick your brain.
Oh, yes. My brain is available for borrowing, so I'm so glad to have you. So I always like to start by, let's introduce you, and then I'm going to ask you a question, and then we'll dive in. So tell everyone who you are and what you do.
So my name is Lisa Condon, and I run Red Sapphire Consulting, and I do a lot of things, but I do a lot of strategic development, inspirational talking and keynote speaking. I'm an author, and I do a lot of coaching, personal and business, for folks. I like to say I tell people what to do and they do it because they build it off of their own values and they get excited about their next steps.
Awesome. So my question for you is, how would you like to feel by the time we're done today?
Oh my gosh. If I feel any more motivated than I do right now, then I'll be really excited. But I also want to feel inspired. So one of the things that I do whenever I'm talking with anybody is I look for, what do I take to fill my cup? Because then I use that to give back. So I'm looking to be inspired, Elaine.
I got you covered, girlfriend. So
all right.
What would you like to ask me?
Okay, so I'm actually in the process. So I've run my company for 11 years, and I am in the process of ramping up something new.
Okay.
And so I know that you have in your lifetime maybe switched a company or two.
Yes.
So as you think back to what went right and what went wrong, what would be, 3 to 5 of the things that you would give me for advice as I'm making this transition?
Okay, so when I was a photographer, right? I was a photographer for 10 years and was kind of feeling like I was being called to do other things, right? Which may sound similar to what you're going through as well. Like you're feeling this pull to do something a little different. One of the first things that I needed to do for myself was I needed to shed the labels. And what I mean by that is I was Elaine the photographer, and I felt like in order for me to kind of transition away from being a photographer, that I needed to give myself permission and I needed to ask others to shed any labels that I had put on myself or that they had put on me, because I felt very restricted and that people weren't going to take me seriously if I was, when you do something for a long time, it's hard for people to almost like accept this new thing that you are doing and wanting to do. And so for mine was, I'm Elaine, plain and simple. And I like to do different things. I'm not just a photographer. I may like to do photography, but I also like to do this. And I also like to do that. And I'm also this. Like, it was not Elaine Terso photography anymore. I wanted to just be Elaine Terso, who has little branches amongst herself that I could explore freely and not feel like I was being confined only into the box that people had put me in. So that was a huge thing for me. Does that resonate with you?
In ways that you don't even know. So because I've run my company 11 years, and I'm running into that, and some of it's even in my own head, right? Of, this is what I do. And even when you ask me, what do I do? Well, this is what I do right now.
Right.
But if you ask me, 6 weeks from now, it might be a different scenario. But it's also setting up my own boundaries, but ripping down that fear as well. I've got to stop labeling myself. So that's a really, really good point. And especially when you're called to doing something and you're pulled in that different direction, it becomes your heart space for it and not just this practicality of what you can do with your eyes closed,
Right, exactly. So when I started trying to step into this new territory for myself, it was like I almost needed permission. It was really weird, but I went on this retreat and I was like, I don't know, I was having big feelings and I was like, I wanted to, this was last July. I really wanted to kind of stop. And I was so scared that it wasn't going to work out. I had all of this fear. And so what I wound up doing, and I know this sounds really crazy, but I went on this retreat, and one of my friends, Fidel, who was running the retreat, we had this conversation, and he was like, you know, he's very inspiring and motivating, and he has this energy that is just infectious. Fidel, if you're watching, you know, like he gets it. He knows. And I was like, I don't know, I wanted to almost make it so difficult for people to hire me as a photographer, because I was like, I felt done, but I wasn't quite in this place where I felt like I could transition. I don't know, I was like in this weird in between. And it wasn't until I went to Celebration for Polka Dot that all of a sudden this wave of feeling came over me. And I was like, what am I doing? This no longer brings me joy. And I had a photo shoot at my house the very next day. And I was like, I said, you're my very last photo shoot. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And I was done, DONE. I was like, I'm going to start selling all my stuff. And my husband was like, whoa, hold on. And I'm like, no, I'm done. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And I just quit. I retired. I was like, 10 years is long enough. And my hand hurts. My body is rebelling against me. Like, I was done. And so it was literally just making that decision and making sure that I could not. Now, I've still had people say, do you still have your camera? Yeah, I have my cell phone. Mm-hmm. I got rid of everything. I needed to literally have a clean slate and not be tempted, because people were still contacting me. And I was like, I need to have referrals available, ready and say, these are the people that I trust to take care of you. But I'm no longer taking sessions anymore. I needed to be able to say, I no longer have a camera, because I knew if I did, I would cave and still try to, because I'm a helper, I'm a people pleaser. And I needed to be able to have that break free, cut it off. And so what would that look like for you to eliminate, to have a clean slate? What would that look like for you?
Yeah, so it's funny, when I started Red Sapphire, that's exactly what happened. It was literally I'm done, and I have not had that moment yet. Okay. What I've been doing is working on this ramp down plan and a ramp up plan. So I think I've got to look at that and say, because what's interesting for you is there was some physical stuff, right, that you could get rid of. And I think that would be really cathartic. I don't have that, and I'm not getting rid of my whiteboard. So, it's like but I do think it's the saying no and giving probably my current clients, here's our end date. And what you just mentioned, something else too that I've been thinking about, is that repository of people to say, I will no longer be doing this. However, in my new business, I have these 3 pillars. If any of these resonate with you, I can still work with you. However, if this is what you still need, here's the people. I'm still building the repository, because it's one thing to hire somebody as a 1099 for me, and then I can oversee it. It's another thing to truly hand off a client to them. Yes. Completely different.
Right. Yeah. And you have to have that trust, but it's also what needs to happen in order for you to truly let it go. To really truly let it go means you really, truly have to let it go. And so I would encourage, if I can give you an encouragement, set a date.
Oh, I've done that. That's done. Yes.
Okay.
Date is set.
So everything from that date forward, you are no longer, right? And so if you get emails around that, right, I am no longer able to serve in that capacity. Here's what I'm doing now. If that resonates, great. If not, here is someone that may be able to help you. And I'm happy to make that connection, but I am no longer, because otherwise you will continuously get sucked in. And here's what I learned. little universe tested me one time when I was declaring I no longer wanted to photograph children. I loaded up my car and I was like, done. All my stuff that had anything to do with babies, I was taking to another photographer's house that photographed babies. And I'm like, the universe was like, are you sure you're done? Because here comes a mom walking down the street who owns a salon down the road who I knew and was like, I really want you to photograph my 18-month-old. And I'm like, what are you doing? I just tapped on my car. I'm declaring that I'm no longer doing this. And you know what I did? I did it. And it reminded me that I was making the right choice by no longer photographing children, because I was like, yes, you're adorable. And I love that you want to hold my hand in the park. And that's so sweet. But I was not, my heart was no longer in it. And that's when I knew, I was like, I made the right choice by saying I no longer wanted to do this. And it was the fear of disappointing someone that made me say yes, right? I'm a people pleaser. And so yes, you may have those moments where the universe is going to test you and say, are you sure you're done? Because it's the boundaries. It's the boundaries. The universe is going to test your boundaries on a regular basis. So be prepared. I'm just telling you, be prepared.
Well, and you just gave me some great thoughts too, because the date that I have is the date that I'm shutting off Red Sapphire, like websites coming down, my email better be transitioned by then, all of that good stuff. But I definitely can declare a date prior to that and then do all that tactical stuff afterward. Yes. So, and that way, all right. See? You inspired me there, Ms. Elaine the Brain.
Right.
Excellent.
So how do you feel right now? Are you feeling like you got what you needed?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So my mind now is going in so many directions because this is something I'm focused on constantly while still trying to run my company, right? But now I've got to figure out ways to overcome those boundaries and when that pops up, and how am I going to handle it? And just because I'm a planner in that way too, I need to have the words ready. Because while I'm not a people pleaser, I know I can make a difference in people's lives, but I want to be doing that differently. And so I've got to figure out how to say, not this, but this. So that's something else I've got to start thinking about. So yes, I feel very inspired to do some of this work, and it's, yes, you've given me things to think about, Elaine. I'm so excited. Thank you.
It's possible. It is absolutely possible. So it's all going to work out. I promise. It's going to be some internal stuff, right? But having those boundaries, I think, is going to really help you as you move forward. And if you need help with boundaries, I recommend Brene Brown. She does some awesome work around boundaries. So that would be a resource if you need one around that.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Oddly enough,
yeah.
Right. No, that's great. I know that you've been doing some work around Brene Brown, and so I respect you and I've done some work with you myself, so I know what you bring to the table. So if you recommend her, I have purposefully stayed away from, because she's such a name that sometimes things become trendy and not real. So you're the first person in my world who might have the relationship that we do. So I am going to look into it. So thank you. See, now you've inspired me. You've given me strategy. Look at all this stuff I'm getting today. Love it.
Yeah, I just finished the Dare to Lead certification.
Congratulations.
So 16 hours on Zoom. But it was really, really good, and, really had to work on my own stuff in order to, I want to be a better leader and I want to help leaders. And so it was really, really good to have to look inward in order to serve outward. But she just says so many things that just make so much logical sense. And so I highly recommend her her stuff. She has a lot of great stuff on her website, freebies, and just so much content. But yeah, totally recommend her. So now, if you don't mind, I had a question come in
Sure.
to be answered. And so I'm going to share with you the question, and I would love to hear your answer, and then I will also share my answer. So the question that came in was, how do you stay motivated, especially like when your momentum is starting to fade away? Like you have this, you're really excited and you're like, yes, let's do this. And then a couple of days later, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
so how do you stay motivated?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I do, and I do it daily. So every morning when I get up, I do some angel goddess card things and just give myself 10 minutes to just get myself situated in my day. I also live where I get inspired. So I moved to the beach purposefully because that's what fills me and inspires me. So when I find myself um, either overwhelmed. I tend to get demotivated when I'm overwhelmed or stressed out, but I don't get stressed out too often. But I actually will take a break. I will walk away and have a conversation with myself to remind me why I made the choice in the first place to be doing what I'm doing. And I'll reconnect with the why, and I'll reconnect with my values around my why. And that fills me. So, but I always do it by being on the beach.
Yep.
So get myself out of my office. So that's what I do. It works for me. And if that doesn't work, which is rare, I'm calling in my tribe. I'm
Yeah.
calling for a reminder of like, hey,
Yep.
you got this.
Yep. Yep. So some of the things that I kind of came up with for like how I kind of stay, motivated is time blocking has been a really helpful resource for me because it tells me what I'm supposed to do, even if I don't want to do it. So that's been a really useful tool. Motivational sticky notes or like little things around, just to kind of remind you that I'm a visual person. Yep. So having visual reminders are very helpful. I do have a whiteboard as well. It has two columns. One of them is planned accomplishments and the other one is opportunities for growth. And so when I'm in that place where I'm like, okay, now what do? I just look over and I go, oh yeah, all right, now I know what I need to focus on, right? And then I also thought this would be fun is to like have a recorded message, either something like if you find yourself in a slump, like at 3:00 in the afternoon and you still got 2 hours to power through, maybe there's a little alarm on your phone that you could like remind yourself to play this message or to have some sort of, you could have an alarm set and have a ringtone play that could be a recorded message to motivate you to get off your ass, right? And to keep going. So that could be fun. It could be you recording a message to yourself, or it could be someone that that motivates you. You could do rewards. So one of the things that I've encouraged people to do is to track your time as if you were paying yourself. Like if someone is paying you, you might want to stay on task because money talks sometimes, right? So what could you set up for rewards? Not saying I'm encouraging sugar, but I'm just saying sometimes a little treat could be really helpful, right? If I get this done, then I get this reward. It's just like doing your chore chart and you get little gold stars when you do the dishes, right? The
I love
last
it.
thing that I use to keep myself motivated, music. Like,
You made me think that.
yep,
Yes,
I
music.
must
Yes.
have music. So I have a playlist. I have several playlists on Spotify. And if it's not a podcast, then it's going to be music, and I will rock out or I will jam it up to some old school hip hop, whatever I need, whatever I'm feeling that day. And it will just keep me going. Like it's what I call my attitude adjustment.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Say it for the people in the back. Yes.
Right.
Music can change your mood just like that.
Just like that.
Mhm.
Just like that. Yep. And it needs to be something that is going to move my body, or it's going to pump me up or make me want to bang my head to some rock, right? Like I'm a rocker. I am. No
I'm
shame.
shocked. I'm so surprised, Elaine. No,
So
that's great.
awesome.
Nice.
So, thank you so much for being on my very first Elaine the Brain episode. I'm so excited.
Elaine, I am so thrilled that I was your first guest. I'm so happy that you invited me to be here. And I can't wait to see all the great things you're going to do with this show. You're going to just help change people's lives, Elaine, as
Oh,
you do
thank you.
already.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, how can people find you? Like, give them your.
Sure, sure. So the best way is email. So it's Lisa at the LISA at redsaphireconsulting.com. And yes, it's that long. So Lisa at redsaphireconsulting.com. Feel free to email me anytime. Love to set up times to connect with people, get to know people, learn from people, and educate people. So let's inspire each other.
And you're a polka dot sister, so
Yes,
what better,
yes, all the
polka
dot
dots in
sisters.
the house.
Hey, I'm actually wearing my dot pin right here.
Oh, I have my dot love pin right here that
I don't know where mine is. Okay. Sorry, Kari, if you saw that.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate you so very much. It was really fun to talk with you.
You too. Thanks so much, Elaine.
All right. See you guys next week. Every
Bye.
Friday.